This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance in the Central Valley today, our continued road show. We are in Stanislaus County. We're actually in the Hall of Administration. And I thank one of our hosts, Keith Boggs, for inviting us here to interview elected officials and others in this beautiful complex. Keith, of course, is the Assistant Chief Executive Officer of this great county. Of course, the headquarters of the county is Modesto. And I have rarely met a public servant that is as passionate as you are about one specific program, and that program's for the kids. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your mentor program, which I guess you could say is graduating from high school this year at 18 years.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
So I know you like that segue.
I do.
So tell us about, let's go to the beginning.
Yeah.
What happened 18 years ago?
Well, former CEO Regan Wilson came to an under-analyst, me, one morning walking by and basically said to me, Keith, I'd like you to start a youth mentor program, and continued walking up the aisle. And not my background.
Right.
A happy accident, I reached out to the community, to the Center for Human Services and our Sheriff's Department and some of those who are working with youth. And we developed a model, and it limped along early and got its sea legs about 3 years in, and now we're in almost halfway into our 18th consecutive year.
And what's unique about this program, though, is that the mentors are employees of Stanislaus County.
A goodly part of them, yes.
And some of the mentors are names that we know pretty darn well if we live in Stanislaus County.
Yeah.
Like Tom Chagnon, who is the superintendent, the elected superintendent.
Right.
I mean, you have people at all levels that are working to be that mentor. And recently you came out with this book. I guess this was for your junior year.
Yeah.
17 years.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoy about this book, and I understand this, is that you talk to the mentors.
Right.
Not the mentees.
So we have often asked the children
Right.
what this means to them.
And before we talk about the book, I digress. What does it mean to the children?
Well, they love the attention. And many of the children that we target in our program, they are identified by education. We don't go in and pick the children. The educators pick kids. They target young people who are struggling academically, who may have some social issues, anger management issues.
Age range?
We work with third, fourth, occasionally a fifth grader, but typically 3, 4.
And I presume that's very specific, because once they get into middle school, as I've learned, you may lose them.
Right.
I mean, you got to get them.
Very, very true.
Before 6th grade.
Very, very true.
And so, what do the kids say? You know, you probably have some graduates. Actually, honestly, I mean,
but at this point, probably.
Right, they're probably out of college. I mean, do you have a sense as to how these programs change lives for the kids?
The number one data set, the number one needle mover is the kids that go through this program, engage in this program, truancy goes away. You know, the one of the key drivers, and we've heard it all our lives, you got to be there if you're going to learn. And many of the children that are targeted through education to participate have a track record of not coming to school. And I don't know what happens in that magical connection that occurs, but I believe that these children, knowing that today's my mentor day, and we have 2 40-minute sessions a week, about 4 years in, after it ramped up with some vim and vigor, it started to taper off a little bit, we went to a team-based approach. So now we have up to 3 adults, for lack of a better descriptor, adopt a child for a school year, and they rotate the assignment. So 2 times a week, one of those team members spends 40 minutes with that child.
During school hours?
During school hours, typically around the lunch hour.
What are they doing?
All kinds of different things.
Right.
In a couple of the schools, it's very, very traditional academic. They are dealing with homework assignments they may struggle with. In a couple of other school sites, it is basically recreational reading, working on comprehension skills and being able to tell the story back.
How long do these team members stay with these children? How long does the relationship last?
You know, in the early years, it was a one-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We have more and more over the last decade encouraged our adult mentors to stay with a child, especially if they get a third grader and the occasional second grader.
Right.
Stay with them for multiple years and really create a bond. We have one employee now who started with a youngster at the junior high as a pilot 3 years ago and has followed this young lady to Davis High School.
How's she doing?
Good, really good.
Tell us more about this book, because I get it. I will often talk to people who act in this capacity, and they feel as if, while the kids benefited tremendously, and that's the ultimate goal and desire of the program, they just receive so much back.
You really do.
Yeah.
I can't stress that to, your
yes.
listeners, your viewers more. It is really a two-way street. As I mentioned earlier, we have many times asked the children, asked the educators what they get out of it. We've never really paused long enough to say, hey, adult mentors, what are you getting out of it? So at the 17-year juncture, which was this last December, we reached out to our mentors and asked if they would provide a brief testimonial.
Brief.
I honestly,
pages and pages, and I love that.
I honestly thought that we'd have to press to get 17, and it turned out as a happy accident. There were like 45 of them. Then we had to go through the matrix of scoring them and figuring, which ones would go in to make the 17. But it's good stuff.
And what are some of the highlights from this book? What were there certain themes that you saw repeatedly?
Creativity. So going and seeing your young person, getting them initially out of their shell. There may be some protections, some layer of concern, apprehension. One gentleman brought a kite to school, and they went out in the field, and it had a nice breeze, and he had not only his protege out of their shell, but the whole schoolyard was engaged in flying this kite, kicking a soccer ball around, just getting into the mindset of that young person who may come from a situation where they're not listened to often. Their opinion really isn't in a leveraged place, and just taking the time.
So
building trust.
How can we get involved if we live in Stanislaus County?
You can call me.
Do you want to give your phone number on the air?
Absolutely. I'm a public servant. That's what I do.
Go.
209-652-1514. My name is Keith. Call me. We have a dedicated group that will connect with you, get you the application and the process, and plug you in.
And what is the process?
Process is a simple 2-page application. We have 6 school sites. If we grow, we can grow sites. There is a fingerprinting, FBI, the screening. That is an education mandate. That's a process that you need to go through, and we can assist you with that as well.
So when we talk in a couple of years, when you're celebrating your 20th year, what do you hope to be telling me? I'm sure that you have plans beyond 18. What do you hope?
Well, I always saw this about Stanislaus County, the silly bow tie shaped piece of geography, not Stanislaus County, the public sector entity. And we're really starting to see that happen with the faith-based community, with service clubs, the Rotarians, Lions Club 500, MJC students volunteering. We're starting to see it trickle out and others to get more and more engaged. So at 20, I'd like to see this become where the table tips and the number of county employees participating is less than the combined
But there is something magical, though, about having county employees being those mentors. I mean, I get what you're saying.
It's all about corporate citizenship, and we've got 4,000 plus wonderful people. So we're in a good place.
His name is Keith Boggs. He is the Assistant CEO of beautiful Stanislaus County. We are in the Central Valley today on our continued roadshow. My name is Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.